Before I get into the video, I want to give a content warning that I will be discussing diet culture as well as disordered eating in this video. If these are topics that you think could potentially negatively affect you, then please don't watch. Also, a disclaimer that I am not a mental health professional nor a registered dietitian. I'm not an expert on these topics, and I'm simply going to be discussing them through the lens of my own experiences. For those of you who know my channel, this is a channel that talks about veganism and low-waste living. This is not a channel that trades on drama, except for maybe the vegan carnivore video, a little bit. For the most part, that's not my beat, nor is really the content of what I'm going to be talking about in this video. At the same time, I am someone who does not have a problem giving my opinion. When I disagree with something, when I feel something's not right, I'm not afraid to speak up. And so this is a situation in which I felt, as kind of uncomfortable as it may feel to make a video like this, I felt that I would feel more uncomfortable not saying something. I said a lot of this on my Instagram already, so if you follow me on there, you already know what this is all about. If you don't, you're probably like, what the fuck? I had so much to say on the topic that I felt like I wanted to make a video on here, but at the same time, I didn't want to rush into making anything while I was kind of fresh off of all of that happened. After taking a few days, there are just so many things that I want to say, and so this video felt important to make. So now onto the subject matter of the video. I was very disappointed by a reel that the Livekindly Instagram account posted last Thursday. There are two main things I want to touch on in the video. First, the actual content of the reel and why I was upset and disappointed by it. And secondly, how Livekindly handled the feedback that they got about the reel and how I was upset and disappointed by that. I am going to show the reel on here, but first I want to give a little bit of background about Livekindly. I'm sure most of you watching know what or who Livekindly are. They're a huge vegan media brand. They, I believe, started in the UK, but they're very big in the US as well as the UK. They are one of the top sources for vegan news. I would say veg news is still #1, but Livekindly is right up there. They have almost 500,000 followers on Instagram. I've followed them on Instagram since I started my Totally Forkable account. And I would say, like, in my vegan news circuit, and I don't check vegan news websites that often, but when I do, they're in my circuit. It's basically them and veg news. And I would say the reason that I follow Livekindly on Instagram and why I follow veg news is because I like to keep up to date with what's happening in the world of vegan news. However, if you follow these accounts, you know that they post a lot of other content other than just vegan news because they are trying to be these like powerful media brands and not just vegan news websites. So last Thursday I opened up my Instagram and I saw this reel at it was the first thing I saw at the top of my feed, and to me it seemed like just your kind of average like Trader Joe's vegan haul. When I see a reel and I just hear that kind of like very typical like TikTok reel music where it's like it's not really the type of content that I enjoy watching. I mean, it's obviously popular. It's a popular genre of content, but I normally just would keep scrolling. But for some reason I watched this one. I'm going to watch it again and show it on the screen so that you guys can watch it and then we'll discuss.
Time for Trader Joe's. Got my reusable bags. These tiny avocados are the perfect size. Always have to get fruit, can't forget greens. Love this kale mix, especially with this dressing. This broccolini is so good roasted. My go-to protein sources are tofu, and I also get their plant-based patties and tempeh. Now, snack time. Popcorn is a great alternative. Now for something sweet. I have a huge sweet tooth, so these Go Macro bars do just the trick. Time for Trader Joe's. Got my
Obviously, what stood out to me and what I certainly hope stood out to you was the big red X and the wrong buzzer sound over the entire snack section and the entire dessert section. My immediate response was that there was this kind of restrictive, kind of diety vibe about it. It felt like something that you would see on a diet forum, like in the 2000s, like an unhealthy diet forum. The caption of the video was, "Quick Trader Joe's vegan haul, managed to not buy all the snacks, smiley face. Basically, what this reel is implying to me is that the snack aisle in Trader Joe's is off limits, and instead of any of the food in the snack aisle, you should buy popcorn kernels, like those are the only acceptable alternative. Also that the dessert section is off limits, and that you should get a macro bar instead of buying anything from the dessert section. So I want to get this out of the way. First and foremost, there's absolutely nothing wrong with popcorn or macro bars. They're both delicious, they're both great vegan snacks. I have no issue with those two items. That's not what this is about. My issue with this video is that it implies that within the world of vegan food, there are acceptable foods and unacceptable foods, right and wrong. The buzzer sound that they use is literally the sound that you hear in a game show when someone gets the wrong answer. And conversely, the dinging sound that they use to show the acceptable foods is the sound that you hear in a game show when someone gets the right answer. So to me, very clearly saying right and wrong. Even the caption saying managed to not buy all the snacks, as if they did something right, something worthy of praise or, patting themselves on the back for not buying anything from the snack section other than popcorn kernels. Something that really bothers me about the video is how the creator of the video shows the dessert section and says, now time for dessert, I have a huge sweet tooth. And then you have that X coming in right away, and she says, macro bars are a great option. So we are led to believe that when you are having a sweet craving or a dessert craving, that you should eat a protein bar instead of a traditional dessert item. If you just love macro bars and I love eating macro bars for dessert, great. But the fact that she shows the dessert section and says, this is the kind of food that I really like, and then puts the X over it, leads me to believe that there is something kind of restrictive-y, a restrictive diet mindset here. I think I would have had a completely different reaction to this video if she had just shown what she actually got. Why did you also have to show what you didn't get or what you avoided getting? It was such a choice. I imagine I don't really make reels or TikTok, so I don't really know. I think that they're kind of complicated to edit whenever I'm an editor, and when I've gone on there, I've found them kind of complicated. So I think you have to go out of your way to find the X and the buzzing sound and then the check mark and the ding ding sound. That was the sort of most edited part of the whole reel. They went out of their way to show that. So we'll get into this more later, but I did post 2 comments calling them out, both of which were deleted. Both of my comments, especially the second one, which was left up for longer, had a ton of likes, a ton of people commenting that they agreed with me, but there were a few comments that disagreed with me, which is totally fine. And so I want to go into some of what people were saying that they disagreed with and discuss those comments. There were a couple comments that said kind of along the lines of, well, this person could have been on a diet, or this person could have been avoiding processed foods. So if this were the case, if this person were on a diet, let's say, or if this were meant to be kind of more of a whole food Trader Joe's haul, that would be fine, that would be one thing, but the video doesn't say that. It's not positioned as that at all, it's just positioned as a vegan's Trader Joe's haul. And since they didn't specify any differently, the video is kind of positioned as a vegan's guide to Trader Joe's. This is what we get, and sort of this is what you should get too. Isn't that the whole point of influencers and influential accounts? They're influencing you on what you should do. Based on what was shown in the video, this person eats fruit, salads, tofu, protein patties, popcorn, and macro bars. There's nothing wrong with that. Those are all healthy items. Personally, I am hitting up a lot more sections of Trader Joe's when I go there. I'm pretty much shopping in every single aisle. So if this is all that this person buys when they go to Trader Joe's, that seems like a very limited array of foods in and of itself. Here's the core of why this video bothered me so much. There's no doubt in my mind that Livekindly has a lot of young followers, right? I think we would assume that most Instagram accounts have a certain number of young followers. There's a lot of young people on Instagram. The human brain is not fully developed until the age of 25. Until then, we are susceptible to new information, being influenced by that information more so before that point when our brain is done developing. I was a teenager in the aughts, pretty much for all of the aughts, which were kind of like the heyday of societally accepted toxic diet culture. I'm not saying toxic diet culture has gone away, but there was a lot more of it that just no one was like calling it out back then, and so it was everywhere. I remember being a teenager and reading things in magazines, seeing things on TV about exercise, about diet, about food, body image that affected me. I would read something and I would kind of just absorb it because I didn't realize that I was being fed this like diet culture narrative. And as a result, I did have somewhat of a complicated relationship with food for a little while in my late teens and early 20s. I think a lot of that had to do with the media that I consumed. I'm not saying that every single young person is susceptible to this, but I think a lot are, and that's why I think we have to be so mindful and so careful and responsible with the content that we're putting out there and what the implications of that content could be. With Instagram, there's just so much information, it's impossible not to absorb at least some of it. And if you don't know better, you're just kind of taking things at face value. Maybe you watch that and go, oh, I guess I can't shop in those sections. Okay. And that is my main concern, is that who could be getting negatively affected by this video? One person commented and said, I think that it's a stretch to call this toxic diet culture. The video is hardly telling anyone to starve themselves. Diet culture is way more complex and nuanced than just being told to starve yourself, which is why it's so insidious, because it sort of can masquerade as a lot of different things and you don't even realize that it's being fed to you, no pun intended. So again, I want to give a content warning here, going to be moving into talking a little bit about disordered eating. So if that's not something that you think is healthy for you to listen to, then please turn the video off, and I will put some resources on how to get help, where to get help in the description box. I want to talk a little bit about the topic of orthorexia. Again, with the big disclaimer that I am not a medical professional, but this is what popped into my mind when I saw the video. This is from the National Eating Disorders Association, nationaleatingdisorders.org. Although not formally recognized in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, awareness about orthorexia is on the rise. The term orthorexia was coined in 1998 and means an obsession with proper or healthful eating. Although being aware of and concerned with the nutritional quality of the food you eat isn't a problem in and of itself, people with orthorexia become so fixated on so-called healthy eating that they actually damage their own well-being. So I'm just going to read some of the warning signs and symptoms of orthorexia. Compulsive checking of ingredient lists and nutritional labels, an increase in concern about the health of ingredients, cutting out an increasing number of food groups, an inability to eat anything but a narrow group of foods that are deemed healthy or pure, unusual interest in the health of what others are eating, saying you can't shop in an entire section of the grocery store. And by the way, I know that vegans also cut out large food groups from their life, which is obviously primarily due to moral and ethical reasons. That's why I'm saying within the foods that vegans can eat, I think it's really dangerous to just, unless you have a medical reason why you can't be eating these foods, I think it's a little dangerous to just completely X out an entire group of food. It's not like the video put an X with a buzzer sound over like the meat section, the dairy section. That would make sense. So this is what I thought of when I watched the video. This eating disorder called orthorexia, which is not yet officially defined as an eating disorder by the American Psychiatric Association or the DSM-5. That's obviously something to keep in mind, but I do think that it's important to be aware of it because, like I said, it can be very insidious and masquerade as just, oh, I'm just being healthy, I'm just avoiding this or that. In line with that, some other comments said, whole foods are healthier than processed foods. Processed foods always leave me feeling gross. I'm not denying that whole plant foods are some of the healthiest and most nutrient-rich foods that you can eat. I think that everybody should be incorporating a lot of whole plant foods into their diets, whether or not they're vegan. That's not my point. As healthy as whole foods are, that does not mean that eating processed foods in addition to whole foods is wrong or bad in any way. Not to mention, both macro bars and those protein patties, whatever that they showed, are both processed foods. Trader Joe's has a huge section of like whole food snacks like nuts and fruit, dried fruit, etc. If the person had bought those things, then maybe I would be like, oh, maybe this is a whole food haul, but they didn't. And again, the video did not claim to be a whole food haul. Someone else said, maybe Trader Joe's just doesn't have a great selection of vegan snacks and desserts, and maybe that's why they, put the X's over those sections. To pretty much any vegan who has ever stepped foot in a Trader Joe's, this is obviously couldn't be further from the truth. Trader Joe's has tons of vegan snacks and desserts. There are entire Instagram accounts dedicated to vegan Trader Joe's items, and I would say like 50% of what they post are snacks and desserts. And Trader Joe's vegan dessert options range from cookies, brownies, candy, chocolate, ice cream, cheesecake, you name it. If the person making the video was a Trader Joe's expert, which is sort of how they're positioning themselves, they would certainly know that. And back to the processed versus whole food thing for a minute. Not only does Trader Joe's have a ton of vegan snacks, but within the snack aisle, there are a ton of snack options that are sort of whole food based and minimally processed. They have kale chips, plantain chips, bags of popped popcorn with different flavors, root vegetable chips. Also, isn't the whole point of a Trader Joe's video to show items that are unique to Trader Joe's? Popcorn kernels and macro bars are two things that you can buy in pretty much any grocery store. My last point about the content of the video is that my friend Lisa, who is on YouTube and Instagram as Vegan Dynamite, she posted a comment on the reel that I thought was a really good point. In addition to all the sort of toxic diet culture stuff, she said, do we really want to imply that vegans don't eat ice cream or chips? Because that's problematic too. I would say a large majority of people who follow vegan accounts are not vegan. I mean, I know I have a lot of non-vegan followers. I think people like following vegan accounts to like get inspiration and sort of learn more about a plant-based diet and a vegan lifestyle. If I were one of those people and I saw this reel, I might be like, wait, vegans can't shop in the snack aisle or the dessert section of Trader Joe's? Like, maybe I don't want to be vegan after all. That might sound like a stretch, but I really don't think it is. It doesn't take much for people to be put off from going vegan. Lisa also pointed out that Livekindly posts about processed food, vegan junk food all the time. Just a few days prior to that, they had posted about how excited they were that Ben & Jerry's was coming out with a vegan fish food flavor. So are we excited about vegan ice cream, or are we telling people not to buy vegan ice cream? If nothing else, their brand messaging is wildly inconsistent. So now I want to move on to the second part of the video, which is discussing how Livekindly responded to the criticism. When I saw the video, it had been posted like minutes before, so there weren't really many comments, and I was sort of like, okay, am I gonna be the comment that like starts this whole thing off? So I commented, and my first comment said, "What's wrong with the snack and sweet sections?" And then the little face. Trader Joe's has some great vegan snacks and desserts. That's what my comment said. I checked back a few minutes later because I was really curious to see what the response would be, and I was telling Paul, I was like, they're gonna end up deleting this video like immediately. It's so problematic and people are gonna be like outraged by it. So I checked back a few minutes later, my comment already had quite a few likes. And then a few minutes later, I checked back and my comment was gone. Now I was a little bit upset. Not only that they posted what they posted, but that they were so quick to delete a comment that really wasn't even that combative, that accusatory. It was just like, oh, what's wrong with those sections? They've got some really great options. So my second comment, I didn't really feel like tiptoeing around the issue anymore, and I said, why did you delete my comment? I asked what was wrong with the snack and sweet sections in order for them to get X'd out in the video. Sorry, but this video has big toxic diet culture vibes. Obviously a little bit more accusatory and coming a little bit harder than my first comment, but I was pissed that they deleted my comment, and I wanted to call them out, and I wanted other people to see me calling them out. And if anyone were, believing what this video was telling them, that maybe my comment would help them question that. This time they left my comment up and it started getting a ton of likes. Like I said, people were mostly agreeing with it. A couple people disagreed, which I already covered. So there was another comment complaining about the plastic in the video, which we're gonna get to the comments about the plastic in a minute. That comment and my comment were kind of like neck and neck, kept getting like more and more likes, and we're getting like the exact same amount of likes. So before I went to bed, my comment had 80 likes, same as the plastic comment. And then when I woke up the next day and checked, my comment was gone. So they obviously deleted it again. And that plastic comment that my comment had been like neck and neck with now has like 275 likes. My friend Veronica, Veggie Vero on Instagram, told me that she had checked like earlier that morning, earlier than I checked, and my comment was still up, and she's like, your comment was the top comment. So I can only imagine how many more like responses and people agreeing with it or disagreeing with it had, but they obviously decided to delete it. You might be thinking to yourself, well, it's their brand, it's their account, they can do whatever they want. Maybe they just wanted to keep their comment section positive. They are called Livekindly after all. Maybe they just wanted their comment section to be, a nice place without any criticism. Okay, it's their page, they can do whatever they want with it. However, if you go to that post, their reel, which is still up, I would say at least 95% of the comments were criticizing them for the amount of plastic in the video. If I'm being completely honest with you, all of the comments about plastic kind of surprised me. And this is coming from someone who hates the fact that there's so much plastic use in the world, especially at Trader Joe's, does try to live a more low-waste lifestyle. But the amount of comments about it surprised me because this is Trader Joe's we're talking about. We don't go to Trader Joe's expecting to get minimal packaging. We go to Trader Joe's to expect pretty much everything to be packaged in plastic, which sucks and isn't cool. I always bring my reusable produce bags to Trader Joe's, and I managed to get a lot of things in the produce section, not in plastic. This video, it was over the top, every single thing they got from the produce section was packaged in plastic. But anyway, so the comments there kind of surprised me a little bit. And not only that, the plastic comments, they weren't even criticizing Trader Joe's for their plastic use. They were directly criticizing Livekindly for posting a video in which there was so much plastic and sort of criticizing them for promoting that. They haven't deleted any of the plastic comment. That one that I said that was the top comment, it is still the top comment of someone calling out the plastic stuff. There are hundreds and hundreds of comments complaining about the plastic. They have left them all up. So it's not even like they were deleting all of the critical comments. They were just deleting comments about the X and the check mark. They clearly were not just trying to keep their comment section positive. They were just deleting a very specific type of comment. On the topic of creators deleting comments in general, so to me, if a creator or an account, a brand, whatever, stands by their content that people are criticizing, then they should be able to defend it. I'm left to assume that Livekindly stands by their posts since they've kept it up. So I'm wondering why they were deleting comments instead of defending themselves. They obviously think that they have every reason to keep the video up. They don't think there's anything wrong with it. So why aren't they able to offer an explanation for the content? If they're deleting comments, to me that says that they know that there's something wrong with the post. They just don't want to deal with it. I think it's cowardly. I think it's an ego-driven thing to not be able to accept any responsibility and also just want to make it go away by just censoring the comment section. Like I said, it really weirds me out that those were the negative comments they were deleting and not the plastic comments. Potentially they saw the comments about, the X's as a little bit more damning, a little bit more something problematic with the video. And if my comment was the top comment, they don't want other people to see that and maybe have it make them think differently about the video. In my opinion, they were censoring their comments to protect their image, which I guess is understandable, but they didn't care to protect their image in regards to plastic. They only care to protect it in terms of potentially promoting toxic diet culture. Could I give them the benefit of the doubt? Maybe this wasn't their intention. I kind of can't give them the benefit of the doubt because they didn't even attempt to explain themselves. I also want to say that I can't imagine how overwhelming it must be for a creator to get like an onslaught of criticism and negative feedback as a single creator. That would be a lot to deal with. However, Livekindly is not a single creator. They are, like I said, a huge media brand. They are a big team of people. It's not just one person. I would expect better from a large media brand than just kind of like frantically deleting things. My friend Lisa and I were talking, we're like, who do we think made this video? Because accounts like Livekindly Veg News, they repost people's reels quite often and they always tag the creator. In this video, there was no one tagged, which leads us to believe that someone on the Livekindly team themselves made this video. And Lisa and I were saying, like, maybe it's even the same person who posted it who's also deleting the comments. I don't know. That being said, this is why you have a big team, because there are like checks and balances and there are other people to weigh in and be like, hey, maybe we don't post that. It's not just like a one person thing, one person who made a mistake. I think that these big vegan accounts, they're just constantly like churning out so much content. Like if you look on their Instagram, today, it's just like what, 4 or 5 days later, I think the video is like now like 8 rows down. Like they post so much content and they're just constantly churning things out that it's kind of no wonder that things sometimes slip through the cracks. I'm sure they're posting that much to try to keep growing, but I think I would prefer for an account to post a lot less and be very careful and considerate with each and everything that they post, instead of feeling pressure to just put so much content out that they're not really paying that much close attention to each individual thing. Had I just seen this reel randomly in the Discover page or whatever, and it was just a single person's account, I probably wouldn't have said anything. It was just the fact that this is a brand who is such a big representation of us as vegans that I couldn't stand to have that be there and not say anything. You know, Livekindly does work with vegan creators a lot, and it's not in my best interest to get on their bad side in that way, but I don't really care. I wouldn't want to align myself with a brand who thinks something like this is okay to post. There's a huge snowstorm, if you can hear the wind. The bottom line is that it upset me that the person who made this video, you know, made it, that they feel this way about food, about, you know, the most delicious section of Trader Joe's, in my opinion. It also upset me that Livekindly just thought, hey, great, this is great to post with their team, you know, however many people are on their team. I don't know if it's 10, 20, 30, that not one person was like, ooh, maybe this isn't the best thing to post. Maybe we just take that part out with the X's and whatnot. And lastly, it upset me that so many people didn't see what was wrong with this video. That tells me that as far as we may have come in the last 10, 20, 30 years in terms of, you know, body positivity and moving away from toxic diet culture, it tells me that we still have a long way to go. If me making this video helps anyone kind of rethink their own beliefs on what they can and can't eat, or should and shouldn't eat, then it will have been worth it. So that's it. I know this was long. I had a lot to say. Thank you for watching. I'd love to hear all of your thoughts on this. Did you find this as problematic as I did? If not, I'd love to hear why. If so, obviously I'd love to hear why. And, you know, I hope we can do better as a vegan community. I hope we can do better than this in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.